Tonight, you are about to uncover a profound secret one that Buddhist monks have cherished and practiced for centuries to gently calm the restless mind and invite a deep, lasting peace that nourishes both body and soul. This isn't just a fleeting moment of quiet, it's a transformative experience, a tender journey inward that can soften the noise of your day and awaken a gentle stillness within. So now I invite you to settle into a place of comfort. Adjust your pillow, just so. Let your body sink heavy and supported. Feel the earth beneath you steady and welcoming. Take a slow, full breath with me. Inhale deeply, filling your lungs with calm, cool air, and then exhale softly, releasing tension you may not even realize you're holding. Again, breathe in peace and breathe out any worries. This is your time, a time to rest, to listen, and to open your heart to a world of wisdom and compassion. There's no rush, no pressure, only a gentle unfolding waiting for you. Throughout this journey, you'll discover stories filled with timeless teachings, rich in meaning and grace, each one a quiet lantern lighting the path toward inner peace. You may find your mind softening, your breath deepening, and a subtle joy beginning to bloom within you. If at any moment you feel called to stay here, to linger in this calm space, know that you're welcome fully and without judgment. And if you feel curious about what lies ahead, lean in softly. Beautiful insights and healing await you in the stories to come. So before we settle in, feel free to like and subscribe only if this space brings you peace. Your support helps continue creating moments like these, but only if it feels right for you. And if you'd like, please share in the comments where you're watching from and what time it is in your part of the world. There's something deeply connecting in knowing we are pausing together across different places and time zones. Now dim the lights, maybe light a candle or some incense, and let's wander into stillness together. With your breath steady and your spirit open, let's begin with our first story, a tale about the gentle strength that arises, not in grand gestures, but in quiet devotion. This is the story of the Keeper of the Flame. Long ago, in a quiet corner of a fog-draped mountain range, there stood a small temple built of stone and cedar. It was not a place of grandeur. It held no statues of gold, no sacred relics enshrined behind glass. But what it did hold, what it had held for hundreds of years, was a single flame. This flame had been lit by a wandering monk generations ago. No one remembered his name, only that he had traveled from afar, carrying fire from a distant monastery, and left it burning in a bowl of oil upon the altar. And ever since, the monks of this humble temple had kept it alive. They called it the heart light. The task of tending the flame was quiet, but sacred. One monk was always chosen to be the keeper, a role not of power or prestige, but of responsibility and care. On a winter morning shrouded in mist, a young monk named Riku was given the honor. He bowed deeply, not yet knowing the quiet lessons the flame would teach him. At first, Riku took great care. He trimmed the wick each day. He shielded the flame from drafts. He prayed before it, listening to the soft flicker like it held the voice of something ancient and kind. But as days passed, so did his discipline. Sometimes he overslept his morning duty. Other times he filled the oil too hastily. He'd tell himself, "It's fine. The flame is still alive." Until one night during a storm, a sharp wind crept through a crack in the temple wall. Riku had forgotten to check the lantern before sleep. He woke at dawn to find the flame extinguished. Cold, silent, panic rose in him like fire. He ran to the head monk in tears. "I've failed," he cried. "I let the heart light die." The old monk looked at him with eyes full of time. "No," he said softly. You let yourself forget. Riku fell to his knees. What should I do? The master knelt beside him. You will relight it, he said, not from another flame but from your own. He handed Riku a flint and steel. Sit, breathe, wait for the spark. For hours, Riku sat in the silence of the storm's aftermath. His hands trembled, his breath wavered, but slowly rhythm returned. He breathed deeper. He struck flint to steel. Again and again, until at last a tiny ember kissed the wick. Light returned, not the same light, but still light. From that day forward, Riku tended the flame with reverence. He rose before dawn. He bowed each evening, and when asked years later what he had learned from the heart light, he smiled and said, that fire cannot be borrowed. It must be awakened. The story of the keeper of the flame carries with it a deep and gentle wisdom, a quiet truth that speaks to the nature of peace, discipline, and presence in our lives. These qualities are not something we obtain once and then hold on to forever without effort. They are not like treasures locked away safe and unchanging. Instead, they are living, breathing parts of our experience that must be renewed, reawakened, and nurtured every single day. This renewal is not forced or harsh, but gentle and patient, like tending a delicate flame that can flicker with the slightest breeze. The Buddha taught, as a lamp in a windless place does not flicker, so the disciplined mind of the yogi remains unmoving in meditation. This image of a steady lamp reminds us of the calm and unwavering mind we can cultivate through practice. Yet, like the lamp, this steadiness is not given permanently by a single effort or moment of insight. It must be cared for continuously. We become the keepers of our own flame, this inner light that illuminates our path by tending to the mind, watching the breath, and protecting that light, not through rigidity or harsh control, but through loving, compassionate attention. It is a mindful presence, a daily invitation to return home to ourselves. Life will inevitably distract us. We will forget. There will be mornings when we skip the simple walk that grounds us, evenings when we miss the quiet moments of meditation, days when small acts of kindness feel too much to carry. And this is not failure. It is instead a gentle reminder, a whisper from within that calls us back. The flame may flicker, but it does not go out unless we stop trying. Every lapse is an opportunity to return, to start again, to care for our inner light anew. So tonight, before you surrender to sleep, try this simple practice. Sit quietly for just 1 minute. Close your eyes and place one hand gently over your heart. Imagine a small flame there, soft, golden, alive with warmth and light. With each inhale, breathe in nourishing energy feeding that flame. With each exhale, feel it glow brighter, spreading calm through your chest, your being. Silently whisper to yourself, I am the keeper of this flame, and I will tend it. This act, though small, holds great power. Or perhaps tomorrow morning, as you brush your teeth or sip your tea, let these moments be acts of tending your flame, not mechanical routines, but mindful devotions, miniature ceremonies that anchor you in presence and care. Remember, this practice is not about perfection. It is about remembering. It is about the ongoing relationship we have with ourselves, the constant cycle of forgetting and returning. And when you forget, as we all do, there is no need for frustration or shame. Simply begin again. Each breath is a new chance to light your flame once more. Let this rhythm become your way, forgetting, returning, drifting, anchoring, sleeping, waking, always coming home to the flame that burns quietly within you. Take a deep breath with me now. Inhale steady, exhale soft. Feel the warmth settle in your chest, the quiet glow spreading. You are here. You are present. And now, with the flame softly glowing within you, let us continue our quiet journey of patience and resilience. The next story invites us to witness a small flower blooming steadfastly amidst cold, unyielding stones, radiating the gentle beauty of compassion and perseverance. Let me tell you the tale of the flower that bloomed in stone, in the heart of a rugged mountain valley where the earth was cracked and dry, and the wind whispered secrets through barren trees. There was a place few dared to linger. The soil was hard, the sun unforgiving, and the stones seemed to hold the weight of countless seasons without mercy. Yet among the rocks and dust, a single flower bloomed. It was a delicate blossom, its petals soft as silk, shimmering with colors that caught the light like fragments of a fading dream. The flower had no grand roots, no wide leaves to catch the rain. It seemed fragile, out of place in a land so harsh and unforgiving. One day, a wandering monk named May came upon this lonely bloom. She had traveled far and wide, seeking wisdom in the forest's temples and quiet streams of distant lands. But nothing had prepared her for the sight of this tiny flower, standing alone in such a desolate place. May knelt down beside the flower and gently cupped its fragile petals. She marveled at its courage to live, to thrive, to bloom in a place where most things withered. The flower seemed to glow with a quiet light, as if it held the entire sky within itself. As the sun dipped low, casting long shadows across the valley, May sat beside the flower and began to meditate. She listened to the stillness around her, the faint rustle of the wind, the distant call of a lone bird, the steady beat of her own heart. In that moment, she realized something profound. Just as the flower blossomed in the stone, so too could compassion and kindness grow in the hardest hearts. Even when surrounded by difficulty and neglect, the gentle beauty of love could take root and flourish. May stayed until the stars appeared, reflecting on this simple yet powerful lesson. The flower's quiet resilience became a mirror for her own inner journey, reminding her that peace was not the absence of hardship, but the presence of a tender heart that refuses to give up. This story of the flower blooming in stone reveals a timeless and profound truth at the very heart of Buddhist teaching, that suffering and hardship are intrinsic parts of life, woven deeply into the fabric of our existence, yet so too are compassion, growth, and transformation. Life is not only about enduring pain or overcoming obstacles. It is equally about cultivating the gentle strength that arises when we allow kindness, patience, and love to flourish even amidst difficulty. The Buddha himself taught us this enduring wisdom when he said, "Just as a candle cannot burn without fire, men cannot live without a spiritual life." This spiritual life is not some distant or abstract ideal. It is the active daily cultivation of qualities that can shine brightly, even in the darkest and most desolate places, much like the delicate flower bravely blossoming in the harsh, rocky valley. When we face the inevitable difficulties of life, whether they take the form of loss, sorrow, physical or emotional pain, loneliness, or moments of deep uncertainty, it is easy to feel as barren and lifeless as the rocky terrain where the flower grows. At times, we may wonder if anything beautiful or meaningful can survive in the midst of such harshness. But the story reminds us that within each of us lies a seed, an inner seed of resilience, compassion, and potential that waits patiently for the right conditions to grow. This seed is not dependent on external circumstances. Rather, it depends on the nourishment we provide through mindfulness, self-care, and gentle kindness towards ourselves and others. It is our sacred responsibility to nurture this seed, to create a fertile inner environment where the flower of our true nature can take root and bloom. This nurturing process begins with how we relate to our own emotions. especially the difficult ones. When feelings of fear, anger, sadness, or despair arise, we are invited not to reject or suppress them, but to hold them with compassion and understanding instead of judgment. Imagine your heart as that fragile flower, soft, open, and resilient, responding not with resistance but with warmth. It is through this tender acceptance that healing begins and transformation becomes possible. Each day offers countless opportunities to water this inner garden. You might find simple moments to appreciate the gentle warmth of the morning sun as it touches your skin, the soft song of a bird perched nearby, the comforting presence of a loved one, or even the quiet breath flowing in and out of your body. These seemingly small experiences are like gentle rains and nourishing sunlight that encourage growth and vitality within. Extending kindness beyond yourself is another powerful way to cultivate compassion. A smile offered without expectation, a kind word spoken softly, a helping hand reaching out to someone in need. These acts ripple outward, touching hearts and inspiring others. Compassion blooms not only within, but spreads throughout the world, creating a delicate but powerful network of connection and care. Take a quiet moment now to reflect inwardly. When have you experienced kindness during a moment of hardship? Perhaps a friend's presence in a difficult time, a stranger's unexpected generosity, or even your own self-compassion in moments of struggle. How did this kindness affect your inner landscape? Did it bring a sense of relief, warmth, or hope? Can you imagine becoming that flower for yourself or others, offering grace and light where there is darkness? As we breathe in together, now allow this sense of gentle resilience to grow within you. Breathe deeply, filling your lungs fully, and exhale slowly, releasing tension and inviting calm. Feel the softness expanding like petals, unfolding toward the light, revealing your inherent beauty and strength. This unfolding is a quiet but profound awakening, reminding us that peace and growth do not require perfect conditions. They happen precisely because we are willing to be present, kind, and patient with ourselves in every moment. Now, carrying the quiet strength of that resilient flower within your heart, let us move forward on our path. Our next story takes us into the forest, where a young monk learns a profound lesson about freedom, not through grasping, but through letting go. Join me as we explore the monk and the wild goose. In a quiet forest where the trees stretched tall and the air was thick with the scent of pine and earth, there lived a young monk named Sora. He was known among his fellow practitioners for his restless spirit. Though he had committed himself to the path of meditation and mindfulness, his mind often wandered like a leaf caught in the wind, searching, grasping, never settling. One crisp autumn morning, as the golden leaves danced around him, Sora saw a wild goose soaring high above the canopy. Its wings spread wide, catching the sunlight as it glided effortlessly across the sky. Mesmerized, Sora felt a sudden urge to capture that freedom. If only I could hold on to that feeling, he thought. If only I could grasp the peace the goose seems to carry. Driven by this desire, he set off through the forest, following the goose's flight path. He walked swiftly, eyes fixed on the bird, hoping to catch it, or at least feel closer to its serene grace. But the goose, aware of his pursuit, veered and dipped away, always just beyond his reach. Hours passed. The sun began to lower, painting the sky with hues of pink and orange. Sora's steps slowed, his breath grew heavy, and frustration welled inside him. Exhausted and defeated, he stopped beneath a towering cedar and sank to the forest floor. As he sat in silence, the very goose he had chased circled overhead, its calls echoing softly through the trees. Sora looked up, a gentle smile touching his lips for the first time that day. He realized that in his eagerness to hold on to peace, he had missed the very essence of freedom, that it cannot be grasped or captured. True freedom, he understood, is found in the letting go, the release of the desperate need to control, to possess, or to fix. The story of the monk and the wild goose carries with it a profound lesson nestled deeply within the heart of Buddhist philosophy, that true freedom is not something to be seized or clung to, nor is it the result of endlessly chasing after desires or elusive states of happiness. Rather, genuine freedom arises from the surrender of attachment, the gentle release of the grip we hold so tightly on people, possessions, emotions, and ideas, and from resting fully in acceptance of what is. The Buddha's timeless teaching, "You only lose what you cling to," serves as a powerful reminder that much of our suffering is born not from the circumstances themselves, but from the fierce, unyielding hold we maintain on transient things that by their very nature are impermanent and ever-changing. This clinging binds us, creating chains of expectation and disappointment that keep the mind restless and the heart troubled. Sora's restless pursuit of the wild goose in the forest is a vivid metaphor for the human condition. Like the monk chasing the bird's fleeting flight, our minds often find themselves caught in a cycle of longing, chasing after moments of peace, happiness, certainty, or security, as if these could be grasped and held forever. We tell ourselves, if only I can capture this feeling, this state of calm or joy, then my inner unrest will finally cease. Yet the more we chase these experiences, the more they slip through our fingers like wind-blown leaves or the shimmering surface of a stream. This relentless seeking, this grasping after the ungraspable, only deepens our sense of dissatisfaction and fuels the restless, turbulent waves within. To embody the lesson this story offers, we can begin to gently bring awareness to those moments in our daily lives when we find ourselves gripping tightly, whether it be to a thought, an emotion, a desire, or a cherished belief. Notice how often we hold on so fiercely to things that bring us discomfort or unease, convinced that releasing them would mean losing a part of ourselves or losing control over our lives. Now imagine what it would be like to slowly and carefully relax that hold. Picture yourself opening your hand, softening your fingers, and allowing the leaf to be carried away by the breeze. In that simple act of letting go, a surprising lightness often arises, as if a great burden has been lifted from your shoulders. Your chest expands and your heart breathes more freely. Cultivating this ability to observe thoughts and emotions as they arise and pass, without the urgent need to seize or suppress them, is a doorway to authentic freedom. Like Sora, who watched the wild goose glide gracefully through the sky without attempting to capture it, we can learn to be mindful witnesses of our inner experience. Rather than clinging to passing sensations or pushing away uncomfortable feelings, we simply allow them space to exist and move on in their own time. This mindful observation teaches us the art of non-attachment, the gentle dance of presence without possession. Breath awareness offers a profound and accessible anchor in this practice. When restlessness or craving stirs within, bringing your attention to the rhythm of your breath, slow, steady, and natural, can ground you in the present moment. Take a deep, mindful inhale, feeling the air filling your lungs, and then exhale slowly, releasing tension and softening your mind. In this simple cycle, you remind yourself that peace is not something to be locked away or clutched tightly, but something to be experienced fully and openly, right here and now in the ebb and flow of your breathing. Consider for a moment the times in your life when you felt compelled to control or hold on to something so tightly that it paradoxically created more stress, anxiety, or suffering. Perhaps it was a relationship you could not let go of, a past mistake you kept replaying in your mind, or a future outcome you desperately wished to secure. Reflect on what it might feel like to release even a small part of that grip, even if only for a brief moment. What could happen if you allowed yourself to surrender control, to trust in the natural unfolding of life, and to rest gently in acceptance? As you settle into this reflection, invite yourself to breathe with intention and openness. Inhale deeply, welcoming space within your being. Exhale fully, releasing the need to hold on so tightly. Feel this invitation to surrender move through you like a soft breeze, dissolving tension and opening your heart to the vastness that lies beyond grasping. In this simple, profound act of letting go, you may find yourself touched by a freedom as expansive and boundless as the endless sky through which the wild goose soars. This freedom is limitless, not confined by fear, expectation, or desire, and deeply peaceful, rooted in the quiet, knowing that all things arise and pass away in their own time. Like the goose, your true nature is free to move, to be unburdened, and to rest in spacious ease. With the wisdom of release and freedom gently settling in your mind, we now turn inward. Our next story invites us into a quiet chamber where stillness reveals the true nature of clarity, showing how peace arises when the mind becomes like a calm, untarnished mirror. Let us now enter the mirror of the windless room. In a secluded temple nestled high among mist-covered mountains, there lived a wise old master known simply as Tenzan. His reputation was not built on grand miracles or fiery sermons, but on the calm presence he carried, a stillness so profound it seemed to touch every soul who entered his quiet sanctuary. One chilly morning, a young disciple named Haru arrived, burdened by confusion and restless thoughts. Seeking guidance, Haru approached Tenzan and asked, "Master, how can I find clarity when my mind is always full of noise? How can I see the truth when my thoughts cloud my vision?" Tenzan smiled gently and led Haru to a small room within the temple, known as the windless room. The walls were simple, and a single mirror hung on one side. The master instructed his disciple to sit quietly before the mirror and observe. At first, Haru saw only his own reflection, blurred and distorted by the breath fogging the glass. As he exhaled slowly and calmed his mind, the mist began to clear. Gradually, his reflection became sharp and steady. With each moment of stillness, clarity deepened. Just as the mirror reflects clearly only when the air is still, Tenzin explained softly, so too does the mind reveal truth when it is free from disturbance. Clarity does not come from forcing answers, but from allowing the mind to settle like water in a windless pond. Haru sat in silence, feeling the gentle rhythm of his breath, the quiet unfolding of presence. In that stillness, the noise that had once overwhelmed him softened and disappeared, leaving a space for wisdom and peace to arise naturally. This story, known as the Mirror of the Windless Room, carries a deeply powerful and timeless teaching about the nature of clarity and insight within the Buddhist tradition. At its heart lies the metaphor of the mind as a mirror, a surface meant to reflect reality as it truly is. Yet just as a mirror can become clouded with dust smudges or fog, our minds too can become obscured by a multitude of thoughts, swirling emotions, and constant distractions. When the mind is agitated or restless, it no longer reflects clearly. Instead, it distorts the world before us, casting shadows over our perception and leading to confusion, misunderstanding, and ultimately suffering. This internal fog blurs our vision, causing us to mistake illusion for reality and to grasp after things that are fleeting or insubstantial. But when the mind becomes calm and still, when it settles like a perfectly polished mirror, untouched by dust or disturbance, it can reflect the world with perfect clarity, unobstructed and radiant with truth. In this state of serene presence, the mind reveals the true nature of things, free from the distortions created by our own biases, fears, and attachments. It is in this clarity that wisdom arises not as a forced or learned concept, but as a direct experience of reality as it unfolds moment by moment. The Buddha himself encapsulated this teaching when he said, "In the sky, there is no distinction of east and west. People create distinctions out of their own minds and then believe them to be true." These words remind us that much of our suffering does not come from the world itself, but from the mental stories and judgments we impose upon it. We carve up the seamless sky of experience into categories, labels, and opinions, right and wrong, good and bad, desirable and undesirable, and then cling to these divisions as if they were absolute truths. It is this act of mental fabrication that binds us, that clouds our perception, and that keeps us caught in cycles of craving, aversion, and confusion. To truly see clearly, then, is to cultivate stillness within a mind quiet enough to cease its endless chatter and chasing. It is a mind that does not react impulsively to every passing thought or emotion, but instead rests gently in presence, open and receptive. This stillness is not a state of blankness or suppression, but a vibrant calmness alive with awareness and free from disturbance. How do we nurture this precious stillness in the midst of our busy, often noisy lives? The path begins with simple awareness, beginning to notice when your mind becomes restless, when thoughts multiply like racing clouds, when worries swell like a storm, or when emotions surge like waves. Instead of being swept away or caught in the turmoil, pause. Allow yourself a moment to step back from the chaos and bring your attention inward to your breath. Feel the cool, refreshing air entering your nostrils as you inhale the gentle expansion of your chest and belly. Then notice the soft release as you exhale, the subtle falling away of tension and distraction. Imagine with each exhale that the clouds of mental noise are drifting slowly away, revealing beneath them the clear, bright mirror of your mind. Practicing this kind of quiet sitting, even for just a few minutes each day, can gradually build the foundation for deeper clarity. Find a comfortable posture, whether sitting cross-legged on the floor, resting in a chair, or lying down if that suits you better. Close your eyes gently if you wish, and simply observe the flow of your breath. As thoughts, feelings, or sensations arise, notice them without judgment or resistance. Rather than trying to push them away or engage with their stories, acknowledge their presence and then gently return your focus to the breath. Over time, this practice can transform the mind, less cluttered, less reactive, more open and spacious. Take a moment now to reflect quietly. When have you experienced sudden moments of insight or clarity? Perhaps it was during a peaceful walk in nature, gazing up at a clear sky, or lying in bed just before sleep. What allowed that clarity to arise? Often it is precisely the stillness, a moment without striving or grasping, that creates the space for truth to reveal itself. When the mind stops racing and rests softly, the veil lifts and we glimpse the world as it truly is, unfiltered by fear, desire, or confusion. As you breathe slowly and mindfully with me, now invite that stillness into your being. Inhale calm and presence deeply, letting it fill your entire body and mind. Exhale tension and distraction, releasing anything that disturbs your peace. Feel the mirror within yourself, becoming clear, smooth, and radiant, reflecting back the truth of your own nature. unchanging, vast, and serene. Allow this clarity to guide you as you move through life. Remember that truth is not something to be forced, grasped, or captured, but something that is revealed gently and naturally through the unfolding of presence. The path is one of softening and opening, not of pushing or striving. And now, as the wind outside the temple falls silent and the evening light softens, we prepare to move into our next teaching, a story about the journey itself and the lessons we learn when we stop rushing toward a destination. Our path leads us onward to the empty road to the mountain, where we will explore how patience and trust in the unfolding moment bring their own profound wisdom. In a land framed by towering mountains and winding rivers, there was an ancient path known as the Empty Road. It was a narrow trail lined with moss-covered stones and wild flowers that bloomed quietly beside its edges. Travelers rarely chose this road because it led to a mountain peak without a clearly marked destination. The road seemed to go nowhere, empty and silent, stretching far beyond what the eye could see. One day, a weary traveler named Jiro arrived at the beginning of this road. He was burdened with impatience, eager to reach the summit, where he believed answers awaited. Surely, he thought, if I climb high enough, I will find the peace and wisdom I seek. With this hope in his heart, he began walking. At first, the journey felt tedious. The stones underfoot were uneven, and the path wound endlessly through thickets and clearings without signs or landmarks. Jiro's mind grew restless. He questioned the purpose of the road. Why does this path seem so empty? Why do I see no end in sight? He was tempted to turn back, but then, in a quiet moment of reflection, he realized something subtle yet profound. Perhaps the journey itself, this walking, breathing, and simply being, was the teaching. The mountain did not need to be reached for peace to be found. The empty road was not a void, but an invitation to be present with each step, each breath, each moment, unfolding beneath his feet. With this shift, Jiro's heart softened. The road was no longer a frustrating void, but a sacred passage. The wildflowers became his companions, the moss beneath his steps, a gentle cushion. He learned to walk not toward a distant goal, but with awareness and gratitude for the path itself. The story of the empty road to the mountain carries with it a timeless and deeply meaningful lesson about patience, trust, and presence, fundamental qualities cherished within the Buddhist tradition. So often in life, we become so intensely focused on our goals, ambitions, and destinations that we forget to appreciate the richness and subtlety of the journey itself. We hurry along, pushing ourselves to arrive, to achieve, to complete, and in this rush, we overlook the quiet wisdom that exists in each moment along the path. This hurried mindset creates a narrow tunnel through which we view life, causing us to miss the small but precious teachings that the present moment offers us, like gentle whispers carried on the breeze. The Buddha's teaching beautifully captures this truth. Do not dwell in the past. Do not dream of the future. Concentrate the mind on the present moment. These words serve as a powerful reminder that life is not a destination to be reached, but a continuous unfolding that occurs moment by moment. Peace is not found in arriving at some distant place or achieving some ultimate goal. It is discovered in the deep presence with what is here and now. When we anchor ourselves in the present, we allow ourselves to experience life fully without the heavy baggage of regret for the past or anxiety for the future. Learning to trust the unfolding process of life requires cultivating a gentle awareness as we walk our path. It means letting go of the anxious haste that drives us forward and instead embracing each step with mindfulness and compassion for ourselves. The metaphor of the empty road in the story symbolizes those times in our own lives when the future feels uncertain, when our goals are unclear, or when we stand before a vast open space that seems devoid of direction or purpose. Rather than resisting this emptiness, Buddhism invites us to welcome it. It is within this emptiness, this open space without rigid expectations, that true growth and transformation can take root. Imagine for a moment how different your experience of life might be if you shifted your perspective from one of constant rushing and striving to one of patient presence. How might your relationship to time change if you stopped seeing moments as mere obstacles to overcome or opportunities to be seized, and instead began to see them as the very fabric of your journey, each one carrying its own unique value and teaching? To bring this teaching into your daily life, you can start by simply noticing when impatience or restlessness arises. Perhaps you feel hurried in your work, anxious in your relationships, or frustrated with your progress toward a personal goal. When these feelings come, pause for a moment, take a deep breath, and remind yourself that the meaning and richness of your experience lie not only in the destination, but in every step taken along the way. This simple act of pausing creates space for presence, allowing you to reconnect with the here and now. You might also practice walking mindfully. Even if only for a few moments each day, slow your pace and bring your full attention to the sensation of your feet touching the earth. Feel the texture of the ground beneath you, the rhythm of your movements, and the steady beat of your own breath. Allow your senses to awaken to the present moment without judgment or distraction. Let go of worries about what lies ahead or what has already passed. In this way, the empty road becomes a sacred path, a place of learning, healing, and connection. Reflect quietly. Can you recall moments when peace or insight arose unexpectedly, simply because you allowed yourself to be present rather than caught up in planning or striving? How did that presence shift your experience? What did you learn about yourself and the nature of life in those moments? Contemplating these questions can deepen your understanding and encourage you to cultivate presence more fully. As you breathe with me now, imagine yourself walking along the empty road with calm and openness. Inhale acceptance, the willingness to be here fully and without resistance. Exhale tension, the release of striving judgment and fear. Feel your heart soften, your mind quiet, and your spirit open as you embrace the sacredness of the present moment. Let this experience guide you through all the roads you travel, whether clear or uncertain. As we walk patiently along the empty road, embracing the unfolding journey beneath our feet, a new lesson awaits us, one told through the soft tolling of a bell that rings without being touched. This is a story about the quiet power of truth, revealed not through force, but through gentle presence. Let us listen closely to the bell that rang without touch. In a small village nestled at the foot of a misty mountain, there stood an ancient temple renowned for its magnificent bell. This bell was unlike any other. It did not require a striking hammer or a pull of a rope to sound its deep, resonant tones. Instead, on certain mornings when the air was perfectly still and the world seemed to hold its breath, the bell would ring out on its own, clear, pure, and unbidden. The villagers were both awed and puzzled by this mysterious bell. Some believed it was a miracle, a sacred voice from the heavens. Others thought it was the wind playing tricks, or the echo of distant thunder. The temple's abbot, an elderly monk named Renji, told the villagers that the bell rang only when the heart was truly still, when the mind was free from distraction, and the world was at peace. One day, a skeptical traveler arrived at the village. He asked Renji, "How can a bell ring without being touched?" "It seems impossible," Renji smiled kindly and invited the traveler to spend the night at the temple. Throughout the evening, Renji guided the traveler through meditation practices, encouraging him to quiet the mind-release judgments and rest in awareness. They sat together in the stillness of the temple hall, listening to the subtle sounds of the night, the rustling of leaves, the soft drip of water, the distant call of an owl. As dawn approached, a profound silence filled the space. Suddenly, without any apparent cause, the bell rang out, filling the air with its sacred tone. The traveler's heart stirred with a deep sense of wonder and understanding. Renji explained, "The bell is like our own true nature. Its sound arises naturally when the mind is free, untouched by grasping or aversion. It is the voice of clarity and peace that emerges when we stop forcing, when we simply allow things to be." The story known as "The Bell That Rang Without Touch" carries a deeply beautiful lesson about the subtle, gentle power of truth and the nature of enlightenment as taught in the Buddhist tradition. This tale uses the image of a bell that chimes spontaneously, without any human hand striking it, as a profound metaphor for awakening, a spiritual awakening that arises not through forced struggle or intense effort, but rather through the quieting of the mind and the gradual removal of the internal barriers that obscure our true nature. The bell's clear, unprompted ringing symbolizes a state of pure presence and clarity that happens naturally when the mind rests free from grasping resistance or distraction. Many of us live under the common misconception that spiritual progress demands sheer willpower, discipline, or extraordinary effort. We push ourselves to meet high standards, set ambitious goals, or achieve certain states of enlightenment, imagining that if we just try hard enough, if we just work tirelessly, then spiritual freedom and peace will come to us as a reward. Yet the wisdom of Buddhism gently challenges this notion. It teaches that true wisdom, deep peace, and genuine insight are not the results of forcing or striving, but emerge naturally when we cease trying so hard and allow ourselves to rest in acceptance. It is a process of unfolding rather than acquiring, a flowering that occurs when we create the right conditions by releasing resistance and softening our grasp on life. The Buddha encapsulated this profound truth when he said calmness is the highest happiness. It is within the calm, unmoving mind that the true nature of reality reveals itself. This calmness is like the stillness of a bell that rings freely in the quiet of the morning, its sound pure and unencumbered by any external interference. When the mind is settled and free from turbulence, it resonates naturally with clarity and truth, reflecting the world and ourselves as they truly are. This clarity is not a distant or difficult state to reach, but a natural expression of our innate wisdom, once the clouds of distraction and attachment clear away. So how might we embody this teaching in our everyday lives? A good place to begin is by cultivating awareness of those moments when we feel the urge to force outcomes, control situations, or push ourselves against the natural flow of life. We might notice the impatience that arises when things don't go as planned, the frustration when we feel powerless, or the anxiety that builds when we grasp tightly to expectations. Instead of resisting or fighting these experiences, we can try to soften our approach. We allow ourselves to pause, to breathe, and to rest, even if only for a brief moment, in the simple awareness of the present moment. This gentle acceptance becomes the fertile ground for peace and insight to arise. Engaging in meditation or quiet sitting can help us nurture this quality. The practice is not about striving to achieve a particular state or control the mind, but rather about simply being with what is. We allow thoughts to come and go like clouds drifting across a vast sky, observing them without judgment, without attachment, without trying to hold on or push them away. We can imagine the bell's sound arising spontaneously when the mind is free from interference, just as insight and clarity naturally manifest when we stop forcing or grasping. Take a moment now for quiet reflection. Think back to times when you have experienced moments of insight, peace, or understanding, not because of effort or struggle, but because you surrendered and allowed yourself to be present. How did it feel to let go of tension, to stop striving, and simply be? What did you notice about the space that opened up within you when you stopped pushing so hard? These moments remind us that peace is not a prize to win or a goal to reach, but a state that reveals itself when we cease to resist and embrace the flow of life. As you breathe in this moment, invite the calmness of the bells ringing into your heart. Inhale slowly, drawing in stillness and quiet. Exhale gently, releasing tension, worry, and resistance. Feel the gentle unfolding of clarity and peace growing within you, softening your mind and opening your spirit to the profound simplicity of being. Let this peace resonate throughout your body and mind, like the lingering resonant tone of the bell filling a sacred space. As the gentle echoes of the untouchable bell fade into the stillness, we prepare to dive deeper into a story of patience and delicate unraveling. Like a fisherman's net tangled after many seasons, our lives sometimes become knotted with attachments and confusion. Yet with care and presence, these knots can slowly be untied. Let us now cast our gaze upon the fisherman's net. On the edge of a quiet fishing village, where the sea met the sky in endless blue, lived an old fisherman named Kaito. Each day before the sun had fully risen, Kaito would set out with his worn boat and a net that had seen countless tides. The net was his livelihood, carefully mended and tended, cast into the water to gather fish to sustain his small family. One morning, after a long night of storms and restless waves, Kaito returned to shore, only to find his net hopelessly tangled. The knots were tight and stubborn, and no matter how much he pulled or tugged, the net refused to yield. Frustration crept in, and he was tempted to throw the tangled mess into the sea and begin anew. But then, recalling the wisdom of his ancestors, Kaito settled beside the net. He took a deep breath and began to work slowly and patiently. With steady hands and calm eyes, he teased apart each knot one by one. Hours passed, but his mind remained serene, his movements deliberate and gentle. As he worked, Kaito realized that the tangled net was much like life itself, filled with knots of confusion, difficulty, and pain. It could not be undone by force or haste, but only by patience, careful attention, and acceptance of each twist and turn. When the net was finally restored, Kaito smiled, feeling a deep sense of peace. The untangling was not just a task, but a meditation, a practice of presence and humility in the face of complexity. The story of the fisherman's net carries with it a timeless and deeply resonant teaching about patience, perseverance, and the gentle art of facing life's inevitable challenges. In Buddhist symbolism, the tangled net is a vivid metaphor for the knots of suffering, confusion, and complexity that we all encounter in our lives. These knots might take the form of attachments that bind us, misunderstandings that cloud our perception, fears that grip our hearts, or unresolved emotions that weigh heavily on our spirit. Like a fisherman's net caught in the brambles, these difficulties cannot be undone by rushing, struggling, or fighting against them with force or frustration. Rather, they require a patient mindfulness, a calm, steady awareness, and a compassionate approach that embraces the challenge with kindness and acceptance. The Buddha taught that much of our suffering arises precisely because we cling too tightly, resisting the natural flow of life's unfolding. This clinging creates tension and conflict within us, leading to pain and discontent. He encouraged practitioners to cultivate patience, known in Sanskrit as kshanti, one of the 6 paramitas or perfections that guide the path toward awakening. Patience is not mere passive endurance. It is an active strength, a deep capacity to remain calm and present, even amid hardship without being overwhelmed or reactive. It transforms hardship into wisdom by allowing us to see clearly and respond with gentle understanding. How then might you bring this profound teaching into your own daily life? The first step is to begin recognizing the knots you may be carrying within your own heart and mind. These might be sources of stress, anxiety over the future, lingering sadness from the past, or unresolved conflicts in your relationships. Perhaps you feel tangled in fears that seem too complex or too large to untangle. Rather than pushing against these difficulties with impatience, frustration, or avoidance, try instead to approach them with a calm, open heart. Acknowledge their presence without judgment and allow yourself the grace to face them gently. Imagine for a moment sitting beside your own tangled net. Visualize yourself ready to patiently and kindly untangle each knot. Your hands move slowly and deliberately with tenderness and care. Each knot loosens with time and attention, never forced or rushed. This imagery invites you to cultivate patience in your mind and body, a slow, steady process of allowing tension to ease and clarity to emerge one knot at a time. Reflect quietly on moments in your life when patience has brought insight, relief, or healing. Perhaps it was during a difficult conversation where by staying calm and listening fully, you found understanding rather than conflict. Or maybe it was in a time of illness or loss when allowing yourself to simply be present without rushing toward a solution brought a surprising sense of peace. How might embracing patience change your experience of current difficulties? How might it soften your response to life's inevitable challenges? As you breathe with me now, invite the calm strength of patience into your being. Take a deep, slow inhale and feel peace flowing into your heart. Exhale gently, releasing any tension or resistance you carry. Let your heart open, like the fisherman's net stretched wide, ready to meet life's twists and turns with grace and equanimity. Feel the gentle unfolding of acceptance and resilience within you, growing steadily, like a quiet flame. And now, as the waves lap softly against the shore and the golden sun warms the horizon, we prepare to continue our journey with the next teaching, a story about the humble vessel that reflects the vast sky, reminding us of the spaciousness and clarity that lies within each of us. Our path leads onward to the bowl of rainwater. In a quiet village surrounded by lush forests and winding streams, there lived a humble potter named Hana. She was known far and wide for the delicate bowls she crafted, each one simple, unadorned, yet capable of holding great beauty within its modest shape. Hana believed that every bowl had a story, not just in its form, but in the space it created. One rainy afternoon, as the sky wept softly over the village, Hana left one of her bowls outside on the wooden porch. The rain filled it gently, catching the dim light of the overcast sky. As she looked at the bowl brimming with water, she saw more than just a simple vessel. She saw the entire sky, reflected perfectly in its smooth surface. It was a quiet, powerful moment. Hana realized that the bowl, though small and empty by itself, could hold something vast and infinite. It was not the bowl that created the sky, but the space within it that allowed the sky to appear. This simple reflection became a profound teaching for Hana. The true capacity of the vessel lies in its emptiness, its openness. When the bowl is clean and free from dust or obstruction, it can reflect the boundless sky with perfect clarity. Just like the bowl, the mind must be emptied of distractions and attachments to reveal the vast, clear nature of reality. The story of the bowl of rainwater carries with it a profound and enduring lesson about emptiness, openness, and the very nature of the mind as understood in Buddhist philosophy. This teaching invites us to reconsider the concept of emptiness not as a void or nothingness to be feared or avoided, but as a spaciousness to be embraced wholeheartedly. Emptiness in this context is a readiness, a welcoming space within ourselves that allows us to receive life exactly as it is, without the compulsive clinging to what we desire or the resistance against what we find unpleasant. It is a state of openness that does not fill itself with distraction or defense, but holds the world and ourselves with gentle acceptance. The Buddha's teachings illuminate this truth deeply. He taught that the mind, when freed from the dense clutter of craving, aversion, and delusion, can reflect reality as it truly is, without distortion, limitation, or obscuration. This reflective clarity, like the surface of a still lake mirroring the sky, is possible only when we cultivate an open heart and an unobstructed mind. When the mind is free from the dust of habitual patterns, fears, and false narratives, it becomes a mirror that can show the world's infinite beauty and complexity without judgment or interference. To bring this teaching into your own life, it helps to begin with awareness, becoming attentive to the thoughts, beliefs, and habits that clutter your mental space. These mental patterns, like dust on the surface of a bowl, obscure our capacity to see clearly and be fully present. Perhaps you notice tendencies to judge yourself harshly, or others quickly, worries that spiral endlessly, or attachments that make it difficult to accept change. Imagine then gently wiping the dust from the surface of your inner bowl, slowly, patiently, with kindness, allowing a fresh openness and clarity to emerge. This process is not about forcing or rushing, but about softening and allowing space. One practical way to cultivate this openness is to create moments of stillness and spaciousness within your daily routine. This might take the form of meditation, where you sit quietly and observe your breath sensations or thoughts without trying to change them. It might also be a simple pause during your day, where you take a few deep breaths and become fully aware of your surroundings without judgment or distraction. This intentional practice of resting the mind in openness invites clarity to arise naturally, much like the bowl that when empty and clean can perfectly reflect the vast sky above. Reflect for a moment on your own experience. When have you felt truly open? When were you able to receive life's experiences without resistance or fear? Perhaps it was a moment of profound connection, a time of deep listening, or a peaceful awareness that emerged amidst chaos. What did it feel like to be so open, so spacious? How did this openness transform your perception or your heart? Exploring these questions invites you to remember the vastness within yourself and to trust that this quality can be cultivated and deepened. As you breathe now gently, invite this openness into your being. Inhale spaciousness, allowing the breath to fill you with lightness and possibility. Exhale any tightness, contraction, or resistance that you may be holding. Feel your mind and heart becoming like the bowl, ready and willing to hold the vast sky with gentle clarity and grace. And as the rain outside softens and the clouds begin to part, revealing patches of blue and golden light, so too does your inner sky clear. This clearing prepares us to move forward on our journey, bringing us to the next, teaching a story about enduring light, hope, and resilience in times of darkness. Our path now leads us onward to the lantern that did not burn out. In a small village beset by years of hardship and uncertainty, there lived a wandering teacher named Aiko. The village had suffered from drought, and the people's spirits were as parched as the cracked earth beneath their feet. Darkness seemed to settle over their lives, and hope flickered faintly like a dying ember. One evening, as the sun dipped below the horizon and shadows lengthened, Aiko arrived carrying a single lantern. The lantern was simple, made of paper and wood weathered by travel, but it glowed with a steady, unwavering light. Setting the lantern down in the village square, Aiko said quietly, "This light will not burn out no matter how dark the night becomes." The villagers gathered around, drawn by the gentle glow. That night, the lantern's light illuminated not only the square, but the faces and hearts of those who stood near. It reminded them that even in the deepest darkness, there is a light that cannot be extinguished, a light within each of us that carries hope, resilience, and the promise of renewal. Aiko taught that this lantern was a symbol of the inner light. We all possess a light that shines through compassion, kindness, and unwavering presence, even amidst life's most difficult storms. The lantern's steady flame was not fueled by oil alone, but by the courage and love that endure within the human heart. The story of the lantern that did not burn out carries with it a deeply powerful and timeless teaching about hope, resilience, and the enduring light of compassion that burns within each of us, as understood in Buddhist philosophy. Life in its natural flow often presents us with challenges that seem overwhelming, moments of darkness, loss, despair, or hardship that threaten to extinguish our spirit and leave us feeling isolated and powerless. Yet Buddhism gently reminds us that no matter how fierce the storm or how deep the night, there is a light within every human heart that no external circumstance can ever fully extinguish. This light is the very essence of our true nature, the Buddha nature that connects us all, radiant and unyielding beneath the shifting clouds of life's trials. This inner light is not fragile or fleeting like a candle that might be blown out by a passing breeze. Rather, it is a source of profound strength and infinite capacity for compassion and love. It is nurtured by mindfulness, the attentive presence to each moment, and by cultivating compassion for ourselves and others. This light also grows through the deep awareness of our interconnectedness. When we recognize that our own suffering and joy are tied to those of all beings, the flame within us burns brighter, fueled by empathy and shared humanity. The Buddha beautifully expressed this truth when he said, "Thousands of candles can be lit from a single candle, and the life of the candle will not be shortened." Happiness never decreases by being shared. This teaching reminds us that by sharing our light through kindness, understanding, and presence, we do not lose anything. Instead, we create ripples of peace and healing that extend far beyond ourselves. So how can we kindle and nurture this precious inner light in the face of life's inevitable hardships? The first step is cultivating compassion, not only for others, but crucially for ourselves. In moments of difficulty or self-doubt, it is easy to turn inward with harshness or despair. Instead, remind yourself gently that this light of resilience and love is always present within you, waiting quietly to be acknowledged and tended. Simple acts can fuel this flame. Mindful breathing that anchors you in the present, moments of self-care that honor your well-being, or small gestures of kindness toward others that remind you of your connection to the wider world. Reflect now on your own life. When have you experienced this inner light shining through the darkness? Perhaps it was during a particularly difficult time when a small act of kindness, a word of encouragement, or simply a quiet moment of peace helped you endure and even grow. What nourished that light within you? How did it feel to recognize that you were not alone? That you carried within yourself a steady flame of hope and love? Consider, too, how you might tend your lantern today, how you can protect and strengthen that flame so it remains steady and unwavering, even through life's storms. As you breathe slowly and mindfully with me now, invite this enduring light deeper into your heart. Inhale courage and warmth, drawing the flame of resilience into every part of your being. Exhale fear and doubt, releasing any shadows that dim your light. Feel your spirit brighten with a gentle glow, a steady, compassionate radiance that cannot be extinguished by circumstance. And now, as the night sky deepens and countless stars twinkle overhead, we prepare to continue our journey together. Our next story is one of creativity acceptance and the profound beauty found not in perfection, but in the tender embrace of imperfection. It is a tale that reminds us to honor the present moment and to see the art in the unfolding of our own lives. Our path leads onward to the painter and the riverbank. By the side of a gentle river that wound its way through rolling hills, there lived a painter named Emmy. She was passionate about capturing the world's beauty on canvas, spending hours each day with her brush in hand, seeking to create the perfect landscape. Emmy's heart was filled with a deep yearning for perfection. Each stroke was measured, each color carefully chosen, all in pursuit of an ideal she felt was just beyond her reach. One bright morning, as Emmy sat by the riverbank, she began painting a scene bathed in golden sunlight. The water sparkled, leaves rustled softly, and the air was alive with the scent of wildflowers. But as she painted, a sudden gust of wind swept through the trees, scattering her canvas and smudging her delicate work. Frustration welled within her. All my effort ruined by a simple breeze, she thought bitterly. But then, as she gathered her paints and brushes, Emmy noticed something different. The smudges and imperfections on her canvas created patterns she had never intended, unexpected swirls of color that seemed to capture the river's movement and the light's shimmer with new vitality. The painting, once precise and controlled, had transformed into something vibrant and alive. Emmy smiled, realizing that the beauty she sought was not in rigid perfection, but in the acceptance of imperfection, in the openness to life's spontaneous flow. Her art, like life itself, was not meant to be fixed or flawless, but to be embraced with curiosity and grace. The painter and the riverbank teaches us a profound lesson about creativity, acceptance, and the beauty that is inherent in imperfection. This story invites us to recognize that life, like art, is rarely neat or predictable. Instead, it is often messy, full of surprises, and constantly changing in ways we cannot control. Buddhism honors this understanding, deeply reminding us through the path of mindfulness to embrace the present moment exactly as it is, with all its unpredictability and impermanence. The true beauty of life reveals itself not in the polished or perfect, but in the raw, unfolding reality that we often overlook when we cling to rigid ideals. The Buddha taught that attachment to fixed ideas, expectations, and rigid perceptions often leads to suffering. When we insist that things should be a certain way, whether it's how we think we should be, how others should behave, or how events should unfold, we create resistance against reality. This resistance blocks us from fully engaging with life and closes us off from the rich tapestry of experience that unfolds when we allow ourselves to be open and receptive. Instead of embracing the full spectrum of life's moments, we become trapped in a narrow view that fosters disappointment and frustration. Acceptance, on the other hand, is a powerful doorway to freedom. When we cultivate acceptance and openness, we begin to relax our grip on control and open ourselves to life's natural flow. This doesn't mean passivity or resignation, but rather a gentle willingness to engage with whatever arises, to see the unexpected as part of the journey rather than an obstacle. Through this openness, the unique beauty of each moment, no matter how imperfect, can emerge and enrich our lives. How might you bring this teaching into your own daily life? A good place to start is by noticing where you hold rigid expectations or beliefs about yourself, your relationships, your career, or your path in life. Maybe there are ideas about how things should be that cause you stress or dissatisfaction. Perhaps you find yourself frustrated when things deviate from your plans, or when people don't meet your expectations. Take a moment to observe these places without judgment. Simply notice the tension or resistance that arises when things don't align with your vision. Now imagine what might happen if you softened your grip. What if, instead of pushing against imperfection or surprise, you welcomed them as natural parts of your experience? Consider how your relationship to difficulties might shift if you approached mistakes, misunderstandings, or unexpected changes, not as failures, but as opportunities for learning and growth. This shift in perspective opens the door to creativity, resilience, and deeper connection. Practice embracing moments of imperfection with curiosity rather than judgment. For example, if you make a mistake at work, instead of harsh self-criticism, you might ask yourself, what can this teach me? How can I grow from this? If a relationship faces tension rather than retreating or blaming, try to listen with an open heart and see what new understanding can arise. If plans change unexpectedly, allow yourself to experience the moment fully without rushing to fix or control it. These small shifts in attitude can transform your experience and lead to greater peace and joy. Reflect quietly now. When have you encountered imperfections or surprises that in hindsight brought unexpected beauty or insight into your life? Maybe a detour led you to a new friendship, a failure revealed a hidden strength, or a moment of vulnerability deepened your compassion. How did these experiences change your understanding of what it means to live fully? Contemplating these moments helps us realize that life's beauty often lies beyond our plans and expectations. As you breathe with me now, invite this openness and acceptance deeply into your heart. Inhale possibility and grace. Exhale resistance and control. Feel yourself becoming more fluid, more alive, like the flowing river itself, ever-changing yet steady in its movement, embracing all that it encounters with gentle strength. Allow this feeling of flow and acceptance to permeate your being. Let it soften any rigidity within, opening space for creativity, compassion, and joy to emerge naturally. Know that just as the river's path is shaped by rocks, bends, and tides, your life's path too is uniquely yours, beautiful, not despite its imperfections, but because of them. And now, as the river reflects the soft glow of the setting sun, casting shimmering patterns on the water's surface, we prepare to move forward to our next teaching, a story about simplicity, shelter, and the quiet strength found in stillness. Our path leads us onward to the sparrow and the empty field. In the vast openness of an empty field, under a sky stretched wide and endless, a small sparrow settled gently among the tall grasses. The winter had been harsh, and the landscape was quiet, almost barren. Yet there, the sparrow built its humble nest, a shelter crafted from twigs, leaves, and soft feathers, simple but strong enough to protect against the biting cold. Nearby, a young monk named Daiki watched the sparrow with quiet attention. He had been traveling for days, seeking answers to his restless questions. Observing the sparrow's simple resilience, Daiki felt a quiet lesson unfolding before him. The sparrow did not command the wind or change the seasons. It did not build grand nests or seek elaborate comfort. It lived simply fully present, using what was at hand to create shelter and safety. Daiki understood that true strength often lies in simplicity and acceptance, qualities that Buddhism honors as foundations for peace. Like the sparrow who found shelter even in an empty field, we too can find refuge within ourselves, no matter how sparse or challenging our circumstances might seem. The story of the sparrow and the empty field offers us a profound teaching about the transformative power of simplicity, presence, and resilience. At its heart, this tale is a gentle invitation to step back from the busyness and complexity that often consume our lives, and to recognize that peace and strength are most readily found when we embrace simplicity, not as a sacrifice or loss, but as a path leading to true freedom. Buddhism teaches that when we release unnecessary complications, desires, and distractions, we make room within ourselves for clarity, calm, and contentment. It is in this spaciousness that the essence of our being can flourish. Simplicity in the Buddhist sense is not about deprivation or austerity, but about returning to what truly matters. The Buddha reminded his followers that simplicity is the essence of the spiritual life. This means turning our attention back to the foundational elements of our existence, the breath that sustains us, the awareness that witnesses experience, and the kindness that connects us to all living beings. These essentials are like the sparrow's nest in the empty field, humble and unadorned, yet perfectly sufficient to provide shelter and safety. No matter what storms come or what hardships arise, the refuge of simplicity remains intact, offering a steady ground on which to stand. When we begin to see simplicity as a source of strength, we shift our perspective from one of scarcity to one of abundance. Instead of focusing on what we lack or what we think we need to accumulate, we open to the richness of the present moment and the gifts it offers. We realize that peace is not found in external circumstances, but arises from within, cultivated through mindful presence and heartfelt acceptance. How might this teaching influence your life? The first step is to cultivate awareness, starting by noticing the ways in which you may be overcomplicating things. Consider the thoughts and worries that clutter your mind, the endless to-do lists that overwhelm your day, or the expectations you place upon yourself and others that create stress and dissatisfaction. Often, these mental complexities are self-imposed, rooted in the belief that more is better, or that happiness depends on achieving or acquiring certain things. Take a moment to reflect on your daily routine. Are there habits or commitments that you could simplify? Are there ways to reduce the noise and hurry that fill your hours? Simplifying your schedule, your thoughts, and your expectations can create breathing room, a spaciousness that invites calm and clarity. This doesn't mean neglecting your responsibilities, but approaching them with mindfulness and intention, letting go of unnecessary busyness and distraction. Embracing simplicity also means practicing letting go of desires that pull you away from peace. Desire in its unchecked form can lead to endless striving and dissatisfaction. Buddhism teaches that when we loosen our attachment to these cravings, we free ourselves to experience life with greater openness and joy. This freedom is not about denying pleasure or ambition, but about not being enslaved by them. Reflect quietly. When have you found peace or strength in moments of simplicity? Perhaps it was during a walk in nature when your mind was quiet and your senses fully alive. Or maybe it was in a moment of solitude, sitting quietly with nothing but your breath. Recall how that simplicity felt, perhaps like a soft landing, a gentle unfolding of calm that touched your heart. Consider, too, how embracing simplicity might help you navigate life's challenges with greater grace. When complexity and confusion arise, returning to simplicity can be a grounding force, a steady anchor that helps you stay balanced amid turmoil. It invites you to meet difficulties, not with resistance or overwhelm, but with clear, calm presence. As you breathe with me now, invite this simple strength and spaciousness into your being. Take a slow, deep inhale, drawing in calm and clarity. Exhale fully, releasing tension, clutter, and complexity. Feel your heart settle gently, like the sparrow nestled safely in its humble home, sheltered and at peace. Allow this feeling of ease to deepen within you. Know that simplicity is always available to you, an inner refuge that does not depend on circumstances, possessions, or achievements. It is a sacred space within your own heart, ready to hold you tenderly in all seasons of life. And now, as the stars begin to twinkle softly above the empty field, casting their gentle light upon the earth, we prepare to move forward on our journey. Our next story invites us into the tender realm of grief healing and the courage it takes to feel deeply and fully. Our path leads onward to the woman who sat with stones. In a quiet garden surrounded by ancient trees and delicate blossoms, there lived a woman named Aya. She had recently experienced a great loss, a grief so profound that it weighed heavily on her heart, making each day feel like an endless journey through shadows. In her sorrow, Aya often found herself restless, searching desperately for solace, for answers that seemed just beyond reach. One day, seeking refuge, she came upon a stone garden within a nearby temple. The garden was simple and serene, filled with smooth, weathered stones, arranged carefully on the earth. Aya sat down among the stones, feeling their cool presence beneath her fingertips. As she settled into the stillness, she allowed herself to simply be with her grief, her pain, and her longing without trying to push it away or change it. Time seemed to slow. Aya's breath deepened. The stones, solid and unchanging, became a quiet support holding her as she faced her sorrow with courage and compassion. In that space of stillness, she found a gentle healing, beginning a softening of the edges of her pain, and a growing acceptance of life's impermanence. The woman who sat with stones offers a tender and profoundly moving teaching about grief, healing, and the extraordinary courage it takes to feel deeply and authentically. In a world that often urges us to rush past pain, to bury sorrow beneath distractions, or to stay strong by avoiding vulnerability, this story gently reminds us that suffering is not something to be feared or hidden away. Rather, Buddhism honors the reality of suffering as an inseparable and natural part of the human condition. It acknowledges that life includes moments of loss, sadness, and despair, and that healing truly begins only when we allow ourselves to face these experiences with openness, compassion, and mindful presence, rather than resistance or denial. Grief, while undeniably painful, holds within it a profound potential to transform and deepen our understanding of ourselves and others. When we hold our grief with a gentle awareness, when we allow it to be felt fully without judgment or suppression, it can become a path toward compassion, wisdom, and ultimately healing. Just as Aya, the woman in the story, found comfort and support in the steady, silent stones of the garden, we too can discover a refuge within ourselves and in mindful practices that help us hold our suffering with kindness. The Buddha spoke directly to the challenge of suffering when he said sorrow, grief, and despair are the worst enemies of the mindful. Yet he did not dismiss or condemn these emotions. Instead, he taught that by bringing mindfulness to difficult feelings, we create a sacred space for transformation. Mindfulness invites us to stay present with our pain, to observe it with a gentle curiosity, rather than a reactive fear. This conscious presence allows us to see the nature of suffering more clearly, to understand its impermanence and the way it flows through us, rather than being a fixed or defining state. In this light, healing does not mean forgetting or bypassing grief. It means embracing it fully, learning from it, and allowing it to soften and open our hearts. It means cultivating the courage to be vulnerable, to let down our defenses long enough to feel the rawness of loss, and in doing so, to discover the resilience that lies beneath. How might you bring this teaching into your own life, especially when you face moments of grief, hardship, or deep difficulty? The first and most important step is to give yourself permission to feel, to allow yourself the full range of emotions without rushing away or judging yourself for having them. Create a safe space for yourself, whether that is a quiet corner of a room, a favorite spot in nature, or simply a moment of pause in your day. Within this space, practice being present with your emotions, noticing them as they arise and pass like clouds moving across the sky. You do not have to fix or change them. You only need to be willing to be with them. Reflect gently now. Can you remember a time when you experienced healing? Not by avoiding or fighting your pain, but by accepting it and sitting with it patiently. What helped you to open to your feelings rather than close off or resist? Perhaps it was the presence of a compassionate listener, a mindful breath, or the realization that your pain was shared by many others. Consider how embracing vulnerability in that moment deepened your resilience, your capacity for empathy, and your connection to life itself. As you settle into your breath, now invite this same courageous openness to arise within your heart. Take a deep, steady inhale of acceptance, allowing it to fill every corner of your being. Exhale slowly, releasing any fear, resistance, or tightness you may be holding. Feel the steady strength of mindful presence supporting you, much like the stones in Aya's garden, solid, patient, and enduring. Know that you do not face your grief alone. Like the stones, your inner refuge is always there, ready to hold you with quiet steadiness. Your ability to be present with pain is itself a source of strength, and it opens the way toward healing, peace, and renewed hope. And now, as the garden blooms softly around us, petals unfurling in gentle rhythm, with the breeze we prepare to move onward on our journey. Our next story is a profound exploration of the true gateway to peace, a reminder that the path to liberation begins not outside, but within. Our path leads us onward to the gate that opens inward. In a quiet village nestled between rolling hills and whispering forests, there lived a man named Kenji, who spent much of his life searching for peace. He traveled far and wide, visiting temples, sacred mountains, and bustling cities, hoping to find a door that would lead him to lasting tranquility. Kenji believed that if he could only find the right place, the right teacher, or the right practice, peace would finally embrace him. One day, weary from his travels, Kenji came upon a modest monastery perched on a hillside. The walls were simple, and the gardens were untouched by grandeur. Curious, he asked the abbot, "Where is the gate to peace? Where must I enter to find the stillness I seek?" The abbot smiled gently and replied, "The gate you seek is not outside these walls. It opens inward within your own heart and mind. Peace is not a place to arrive at, but a door to open by turning within." Kenji was puzzled, but decided to stay and learn. Over time, guided by the abbot's gentle teaching, he began to turn his attention inward. He discovered that the restlessness and searching he had carried for so long were themselves barriers. Only by opening the gate within, by cultivating self-awareness, acceptance, and compassion, could he find the stillness he desired. The gate that opens inward presents a profound and transformative teaching about the ultimate source of true peace and liberation. In the journey of life, many of us search far and wide for tranquility, happiness, or enlightenment, often looking outward towards distant lands, sacred places, accomplishments, or external conditions we believe will finally bring fulfillment. Yet Buddhism offers a beautifully simple and radical insight. The path to freedom does not require any physical journey beyond the borders of our own being, nor does it depend on the accumulation of material achievements, titles, or even spiritual accolades. Instead, it calls us to turn inward to explore the vast, often uncharted depths of our own consciousness and to discover that the gate to liberation is one that opens from within. This inward gate is not a door made of wood or stone, but a metaphor for the awakening of self-understanding, compassion, and mindful presence. It is the doorway through which we enter into the sanctuary of our own hearts and minds, where true peace resides. The Buddha's timeless teaching encapsulates this truth with the words, "Peace comes from within. Do not seek it without." This simple statement carries profound implications. It reminds us that no external circumstance, no matter how favorable or luxurious, can provide a lasting refuge from suffering. The true refuge, the place of unshakable calm and freedom, is found in the quiet openness of our own mind and heart. When we spend our lives chasing after happiness in external things, whether possessions, recognition, relationships, or status, we set ourselves up for frustration and disappointment because these things are inherently impermanent and subject to change. The external world, like the wind, is beyond our control. But the mind, when trained with mindfulness and loving kindness, can become a sanctuary that remains steady, even amidst life's storms. This inward sanctuary is a place where we can meet ourselves, fully embracing both our light and shadow with compassion, and resting in the spaciousness of pure awareness. How might you begin to open this inward gate in your own life? A meaningful first step is to cultivate mindfulness, the gentle, non-judgmental awareness of the present moment. This means bringing your attention softly to your thoughts, feelings, bodily sensations, and the rhythms of your breath. Rather than reacting automatically or getting lost in mental narratives, you learn to observe your inner experience with curiosity and kindness. Through this practice, you begin to notice the habitual patterns that keep you caught in cycles of restlessness, dissatisfaction, or craving. These patterns can act like closed doors, preventing you from stepping fully into the peace that is already present. Alongside mindfulness, cultivating compassion toward yourself is essential. Recognize that you are human, imperfect, vulnerable, and worthy of kindness. Self-compassion allows you to soften the harsh inner critic that often bars the inward gate. It invites you to meet your struggles and imperfections, not with blame, but with understanding and tenderness. This compassionate presence is like a gentle hand guiding you through the doorway into your own heart. Reflect now with gentle attention. When have you experienced moments of deep peace arising spontaneously from within, independent of external conditions? Perhaps during a quiet morning meditation, a walk in nature, or a moment of sincere connection with another person. What allowed that peace to arise? How might turning inward rather than seeking outward solutions deepen your sense of calm and connection? Reflecting on these questions helps remind us that the path to peace is not a destination somewhere else, but a journey inward, unfolding moment by moment. As you breathe with me now, imagine yourself standing before this inward gate. With each inhale, draw in openness, warmth, and the willingness to be present. With each exhale, release resistance, fear, and the desire to control. Feel yourself gently stepping forward, passing through the threshold into a spacious place of stillness and welcome, a place where your true nature shines quietly and steadily. Know that this inward gate is always available to you. It may sometimes feel hidden by clouds of distraction or doubt, but it is never locked or closed. With mindful attention and compassionate presence, you can return to this sanctuary again and again, drawing strength and peace from within, regardless of the external world's turbulence. And now, as the soft tolling of the monastery's bells drifts gently through the air, signaling the passing of time and the rhythm of the present moment, we prepare to move forward with our next teaching. This upcoming story is Whispered by the Wind, a tale that reveals the secrets of resilience and silent growth, reminding us that strength often arises quietly beneath the surface in ways that are subtle yet profound. Our path leads onward to the whisper of bamboo leaves. In a secluded grove where the bamboo swayed gently in the breeze, there lived a wise monk named Sento. The bamboo leaves whispered softly as the wind passed through them, creating a quiet symphony that seemed to speak of patience and endurance. Sento would often sit beneath the bamboo, listening to the subtle rustling, finding in it a deep lesson about resilience. One year, a fierce storm swept through the forest. Trees were uprooted, branches shattered, and many plants were bent or broken. Yet the bamboo stood tall, bending gracefully with the wind, but never breaking. When the storm passed, the grove was scarred but alive, and the bamboo remained a testament to silent strength. Sento explained to his students that the bamboo's resilience was a metaphor for the human spirit. It teaches us that true strength is not rigid or forceful, but flexible and humble, able to adapt to adversity without losing its essence. Like the bamboo leaves that whisper their song through stillness and movement, resilience is often quiet, persistent, and gentle. The story of the whisper of bamboo leaves offers a profound and illuminating teaching about resilience, patience, and the nature of growth amidst life's inevitable challenges. Within this tale lies an invitation to understand resilience not as rigid resistance or brute strength, but as a gentle, flexible, and deeply rooted capacity to bend with the currents of change while maintaining the integrity of our core being. Buddhism encourages us to cultivate this kind of resilience, not by stiffening against hardship with hardness or denial, but by learning to flow with the rhythms of life, adapting with grace and humility. The image of the bamboo is particularly poignant. Bamboo, though slender and seemingly delicate, possesses an extraordinary ability to sway with the wind without breaking. When storms rage and winds howl, bamboo bends low, sometimes touching the earth, yet it does not snap or shatter. Instead, it returns upright with the passing breeze, resilient and alive. This natural flexibility is a symbol of true strength, one that embraces vulnerability and change rather than fighting against them. It reminds us that resilience is not about forcing situations to conform to our will, but about cultivating an inner calm that accepts life's fluctuations and moves with them in harmony. The Buddha's teachings beautifully echo this understanding. He taught that suffering arises primarily from attachment and aversion, clinging to what we desire and rejecting what we fear. These attachments harden the mind, creating a brittle rigidity that fractures under the pressures of change and adversity. However, through mindful awareness and wholehearted acceptance, we can cultivate resilience, the capacity to face life's difficulties, with calmness, patience, and strength that arises from within, rather than from external force. This inner resilience is a peaceful power, a stillness that is not static but dynamic, allowing us to flow gracefully through the complexities of life. How might you embody this teaching in your own life? Begin by cultivating mindful awareness of the moments when you notice rigidity or resistance in your thoughts, emotions, or behaviors. Perhaps there are areas where you feel stuck, clinging tightly to certain beliefs, fears, or expectations, and you find it difficult to bend or adapt. Bring gentle attention to these places without judgment, simply observing how this rigidity feels in your body and mind. What happens when you consciously soften your stance? Can you imagine yourself as the bamboo, able to sway with the wind rather than snap under pressure? How might your experience shift if you welcome change as a natural part of life's dance? Reflect on times in your past when patience and gentle endurance allowed you to overcome difficulties. Maybe it was a challenging relationship that required you to listen deeply and adapt, or a period of illness or loss when you found the strength to accept what was happening without resistance. Consider the lessons these experiences taught you about your own inner resilience and capacity for growth. Practicing this kind of resilience doesn't mean passivity or giving up. Rather, it is a form of active acceptance, a wise and compassionate way of engaging with life. You develop the skill of holding tension without breaking, of welcoming discomfort without being overwhelmed, and of responding to challenges with openness and grace. As you breathe now, invite the whisper of bamboo leaves, the gentle, persistent song of resilience into your being. Inhale calmness, letting it fill your heart and mind. Exhale tension, releasing any tightness or fear. Feel your spirit sway with grace and strength, deeply rooted like the bamboo's base, yet flexible and open to movement. Sense the harmony between steadiness and flow, between presence and change. Allow this image of the bamboo's whisper to inspire you as you move forward, carrying with you the wisdom of patience, flexibility, and inner peace. And now, as the peaceful song of the grove carries us gently onward, we prepare to enter the final chapter of our journey, a story that weaves together the teachings of presence, acceptance, and profound peace. This last story invites us to rest in the vast stillness of the silent mountain, where all the lessons we have gathered find their quiet home. Our path leads us onward to the silent mountain. High above the valleys and forests, standing timeless and majestic, rose the silent mountain. Its peaks pierced the sky, wrapped in clouds and cloaked in snow, untouched by the rush and noise of the world below. The mountain was known far and wide as a place of deep stillness, a sanctuary where seekers came to rest, reflect, and reconnect with the eternal calm that lies beneath life's turbulence. Among those who journeyed, there was a young woman named Kaori. She had traveled long and far, her heart heavy with questions, and her mind cluttered with restless thoughts. Upon reaching the base of the mountain, she was struck by the profound silence that greeted her, a silence so complete it seemed to breathe with its own life. Kaori found a quiet spot to sit, closed her eyes, and allowed herself to simply be. In that stillness, she felt the weight of her worries begin to dissolve. The mountain's presence was like a steady embrace, reminding her that peace is not something to chase or grasp, but a quiet, abiding reality that exists within and beyond all change. As she sat in meditation, the lessons of her journey, the flower and stone, the wild goose, the empty road, and all the stories before came together like a gentle tapestry, woven by the silent strength of the mountain. the story of the silent mountain, stands as a powerful and poignant culmination of all the teachings and reflections we have journeyed through together. It brings to the forefront the timeless truth that true peace is not found in the fleeting moments of joy, success, or external achievement, nor is it discovered merely in the absence of difficulty or suffering. Instead, it dwells in a deep, unshakable stillness that resides within each and every one of us, a stillness that forms the very foundation beneath the surface of life's ever-changing waves. This stillness is steady and enduring, much like the mountain that quietly watches over the landscape through the passage of time. It is a place of refuge and calm that is always accessible to us if we simply turn inward and listen with openness. In the Buddhist tradition, this profound stillness is often referred to as nirvana or liberation. It is the state beyond suffering, confusion, and disturbance, the serene clarity that arises when the mind is freed from the tumult of distraction, craving, and attachment. Nirvana is not some distant, unreachable goal reserved only for the rarefied few. Rather, it is the natural condition of the awakened mind, a state of being that is available to us all at any moment. Like the silent mountain firm, majestic and unmoved by passing storms, our true nature remains serene and steadfast no matter what difficulties, losses, or challenges may arise in our lives. This inner sanctuary is not destroyed by the chaos of the external world, but remains as a quiet presence beneath it all. So how might you bring this vital teaching of the silent mountain into your own daily life? The first step begins with creating intentional moments of quiet and stillness. These are times when you deliberately allow yourself to sit with nothing to do, but simply be. In these moments of pause, you offer your mind a chance to rest free from striving, pushing, or analyzing, and you give your heart the space to open and soften. You begin to notice the subtle peace that arises not from force or effort, but from letting go and surrendering to the present moment as it is without judgment or resistance. This practice of stillness is like taking refuge in the mountain itself, an invitation to rest in the vastness and solidity of your own being. You may find that as you cultivate these quiet moments, a gentle calmness washes over you, grounding you in a deeper awareness that transcends the ordinary busyness of daily life. This stillness is a reminder that beneath every worry, every fear, and every fleeting emotion, there lies a space of peace and spaciousness that is always present. Reflect quietly now. When have you felt this deep stillness within yourself? Perhaps it was during a moment of meditation while watching the dawn light filter through the trees, or in a brief pause amid a hectic day. How did this stillness affect your perspective on life's challenges? Did it help you see them with greater clarity, patience, or compassion? What practices or experiences help you connect to this inner sanctuary most deeply? You might discover that the simple act of mindful breathing serves as a powerful gateway to this stillness. As you breathe in, you invite tranquility and openness into your being. As you breathe out, you release tension, worry, and the urge to control. Each breath becomes a gentle reminder that you can return to the mountain within at any moment, no matter the circumstances. Imagine now yourself seated peacefully atop the silent mountain. Feel the firm, steady ground beneath you supporting your body and spirit. Notice the expansive sky stretching endlessly above, mirroring the openness within your own heart. Breathe deeply, inhaling calmness and exhaling any lingering tension. Sense the deep calm grounding you, connecting you to a source of peace beyond words, beyond thought, a sanctuary that is always there, waiting for your awareness. As you rest in this stillness, you realize that life's challenges and joys alike arise and pass like weather patterns around the mountain. The mountain itself remains unshaken, a timeless presence that neither clings nor resists. In this way, you too learn to hold your experiences with equanimity, welcoming each moment as it comes, and letting it go with gentle ease. And now, as our shared journey comes to its gentle close, carry these teachings with you in your heart. Let them be like a lantern, lighting your path through the dark, a soft whisper guiding your every step, and the steady presence of the mountain within quiet, strong and endlessly welcoming. Know that whenever you feel lost, overwhelmed, or weary, you can return to this inner refuge of stillness and find peace once more. Thank you for walking this path with me, for opening your heart, and for embracing the journey of awakening. May the silent mountain within you stand firm and radiant, always offering shelter, strength, and profound peace. Sweet dreams.